I started university. I had just turned 15 in Minnesota. So I went up there for school to finish up my last 2 years of high school. And there was this program that just started. I was part of the pilot for the program. And because of my testing scores, they sent me to the University of Minnesota, all paid. I was taking college classes. I was on campus. I was 15 years old in this big, big world that I didn't really understand. And for me, it was a very interesting time because it was the first time that I really was in the US like that. Even though I was there before, I wasn't, I was much younger. But yeah, I was on University of Minnesota's campus studying, going to school full time, working part time. But for me, my passion has always been into like tech, computers.
Welcome to Latinx in Power, a podcast hosted by Thaisa Fernandes.
Okay.
Welcome. Welcome to Latinx in Power. Today we are talking with Soo Tang Yuk. Soo Tang Yuk is an entrepreneur, co-founder of a global tech consultancy, and woman in tech evangelist. With a background in IT and a passion for mentoring, community building, and also as a podcast producer, she drives innovation and leads strategic initiatives. I'm so excited with this conversation. Welcome.
Well, hi, nice to meet you. Hi, everyone.
I'm so excited. In this episode, Soo Tang Yuk will share more about her Caribbean identity, career evolution from IT to entrepreneurship, a difficult word, like pronouncing it. We are just talking about like how some words are difficult to pronounce. Entrepreneurship is one example. And also passion for data, global travel influences and impactful moments from the Analytics on Fire podcast. This conversation is going to be amazing. Welcome.
Nice. Thank you for having me. Like I was telling you, this is my first time doing a live interview, so I'm excited as well as a bit nervous, but I'm here.
Incredible, incredible. I love that. And I can't wait to see all the other interviews you're doing. I'm just very excited about that. And I want to ask you, what does it mean to be a Caribbean person to you?
For me, it means a lot because my family is from Trinidad. And my dad is from Trinidad, my mom is from Aruba, but my dad is half Chinese from Trinidad. So, and I was born in the Virgin Islands in St. Croix. So for me, it's a melting pot of cultures and diversity, languages, you name it. And we grew up very heavy in both cultures, and as I'm getting older, I'm understanding more and more how each one of those cultures have impacted me. And it's interesting to see as I develop more, even like with my daughter, how like things that I say and do, I start to recognize like which culture it's from, because I'm older now. And like with my mom and them, my mom speaks Dutch, Spanish, Papiamento, and English. So for me, growing up, there were certain words in English that I thought I didn't know until I got to the US. Like I'm speaking and I'll speak in and out of those languages and don't realize until I got here, like that's not an English word, even though you're speaking English. You're speaking a whole different, language. But it's been a very interesting upbringing, and I would not exchange it for the world. Like I love being from the Caribbean. I love being Caribbean. And my passion is the Caribbean. So definitely excited about, the Caribbean and anything Caribbean. So
That's incredible. I love that. I'm enjoying so much to talk with the folks from the Caribbean, and I see a lot of similarities with Latin America as well, diversity being
yes.
one of them, and also the different languages. And how was for you, like growing up with speaking so many different languages? I think this is incredible.
It was crazy because a lot of my friends were Puerto Rican. So because of that, like it's weird because it's almost like I don't know any one language fully. I go in and I'll speak in sometimes Spanish, or I'll speak Papiamento and add Spanish words in there, or I speak Spanish and add Papiamento words in there. And I always tell people that my Spanish is horrible. I do better at writing Spanish or understanding versus speaking because of that. So I'm always shy when speaking Spanish because I have to like intentionally speak it because I'm afraid I say something in Papiamento because it's so close to Spanish. So it was a very interesting upbringing, and then you have like my father, and they only speak English, but they speak it with a like a twang as well too. So it's it's a very interesting like just a whole concept of having so many different languages. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love this fluidity. I think sometimes it's hard, right? When you're like, oh, I'm not fluent, or I didn't study, like whatever, but you are able to communicate. And this is the most important thing. So I think for me, I just like not fluent in Spanish, and I always like think about that and I feel bad about that. But at the same time, when I travel, I can communicate, I can order my food, and I'm vegan.
exactly.
So things are hard.
Oh,
So being able to order your vegan food is just like a huge achievement. And sometimes I keep reminding myself of that. I was like, no,
yes,
it's okay. One day you'll be fluent. Maybe I should
yeah.
prioritize that.
Yes, I understand. I totally understand. Trust me, because even like when I went to Spain a few years back, I had to like completely switch my mind into Spanish because you're there and you're reading stuff, and I'm like, I know this word and I know what it means, but I forgot because I don't have as many friends around me that speak Spanish anymore. So I'm not remembering those simple words. And I told myself the same thing. I have to come back and I have to get back into learning conversational Spanish and how to speak Spanish. So it's been an interesting journey with that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Actually, I just saw a TikTok that this person was saying that if you want to learn a new language fast, you should memorize the most important 200 words in this language. Because if you memorize those 200 most important words, you're going to be able to communicate or like communicate with someone like much easier, because sometimes we lack the vocabulary. So I think
Yeah.
this is something that I'm going to do, like trying to find out these 200 words in Spanish and memorize and learn them.
Yes, that's actually a good idea. I didn't think about it like that, but maybe I will do the same because my aunt and them, they speak Spanish fluently. I'm the only one kind of, dwindling in the wind. So I'm definitely going to look into doing it because I like to travel. So, and I appreciate the languages because of my upbringing. So,
Incredible, incredible. And can you give us an overview of your life and your career? Anything you want to share with us?
so one thing a lot of people don't know about me, I started university. I had just turned 15, in Minnesota. So I went up there um, for school to finish up my last 2 years of high school. And there was this program that just started. I was part of the pilot for the program. And because of my testing scores, they sent me to the University of Minnesota, all paid. I was taking college classes. I was on campus. I was 15 years old, in this big, big world that I didn't really understand. And for me, it was a very interesting time because it was the first time that I really was in the US like that. Even though I was there before, I wasn't, I was much younger. But yeah, I was on University of Minnesota's campus studying, going to school full time, working part time. Um, but for me, my passion has always been into like tech computers. And it's interesting because my mom started that. She brought home a DOS IBM like computer when we were probably like 10 years old, 11 years old, um, for her job. And I quickly started to play with it and learn how to, start it up and boot it up and use the word processor on it. And that was where like she kind of like opened up my imagination to like what a computer was and how you use it. And from there, I've always been into tech, always. I'm like a geek, I love anything that's tech. Um, and I originally went to school and studied information technology as well. But as I got out, I felt like I didn't want to code. I didn't want to do programming. I felt like that wasn't my thing, even though I learned how to do it early on. And I got the opportunity to work with this company that they did eBay ads and a lot of marketing and stuff. Now, I was hired as a assistant to the CTO, but when I got there, I was given a chance to like learn some of their eBay tactics and stuff. And that's kind of what jump started my career, like even into like the marketing and stuff that I've started doing or started doing back then. And from there, I moved up to Atlanta. Um, And, my sister and I have always kind of been very entrepreneurial. Like we had, even in Miami, we had several businesses. We did e-commerce. We're selling on Amazon. We're also doing eBay up here where I would go to like companies and people's houses and sell stuff for them. We had a website business. My sister is a computer engineer, so we would build websites. We had a company for a few years. I used to be the program manager or manage the projects for that company. And then we got up here and we started a blog that it doesn't exist now, but it was for software named Excelsius. And we started a blog, and that's kind of how we blossomed into having a company. We never had a website. We never had, a formal, come meet us or office or anything. We started a blog, and from that blog, we got inquiries from Disney, from McKesson, and that kind of started our career into like consulting and doing training and stuff on that one software. And that's kind of how it all kind of began for us. And I tell people that in like a blog, I was like, yeah, we were shocked too. We were very shocked by how that kind of it just kind of like blossomed open. And for me, like I never studied like business or anything. A lot of it I learned along the way or by reading, books, just studying myself. And at one point I tried to do an MBA, but it was just too much for me to do that while trying to run a company at the same time. So I took what I got from it and I kind of just jumped into to being an entrepreneur just by, I wouldn't say a mistake because I think that's kind of, your journey in life, you end up where you're supposed to end up. But it wasn't something that I had planned to do at all in my lifetime. So
Amazing. And first of all, going to college at like 15, oh my God, incredible. How was this experience for you? Like, I cannot even like imagine.
it was crazy because I was in a big city. Again, I'm from a very small island. Accustomed to very small island things, and I just kind of was placed in that situation. And it forced me to grow up really quickly. The thing is though, I've always been a mature person because I am the oldest from my mom as in terms of my sisters. So I always carry a lot of responsibility, and I also grew up with my grandparents. So I also just had just mature people around me. So when I went there, people would be like, "Oh, come on, let's go out." And as an immigrant coming from another country to the US, you come to me with a different mindset. Like you come up here to get business done. You don't come up here to necessarily party and be out because you can't fail and go back home. You can't tell your mom after she sacrificed to send you up here, like, well, I flunked out of school. I was partying too much. Like I couldn't do that. So I was very focused on getting good grades. I was working part-time for most of the time or even full-time. Um, but I did it, I had a full load of classes. My first year, I had a 3.0 and everyone was like, wow, you did better than we expected you to do. Because again, it was a pilot program and we were one of the few, my aunt and I were one of the few people that they were like tracking during that time. And they had us in the pamphlet about it and our success and everything. So, and I wish back then I'd kept that stuff, I guess I was too young to really understand the impact of that. And I don't really talk about it much, but yeah, that was a very interesting, time for me, being on the campus and just learning and meeting people and dealing with just being in college or university, so.
Incredible. Yeah, you should talk about that more. It's very inspiring. And I think a lot of folks who are listening to us are going to identify when you said that which is like relates a lot to the immigrant life. Failing, it's not an option. A lot of times it's not like you can come back to your country or you can ask for your family for like helping. It's just like, it's not an option. So it puts a lot of pressure for sure. So it's very inspiring to see and to hear your story.
You.
That's incredible. And I love that you also like experimenting with different things until you got into like the entrepreneurship part. And I was wondering if there's any tip, any insight you want to share with someone who wants to become an entrepreneur and don't know how to start? Maybe they're struggling in starting something new. Is there anything you want to share with them?
First of all, I always tell, like, even my daughter, I always tell her one of the things that I learned quickly is no matter what I'm doing, always learn. Because everything that I did up until the point where we became, we did this blog, even working for that eBay company, I didn't understand how that would impact me later on in life. And I'm a lifelong learner. So I don't see an opportunity, whether big or small, as just, oh, that's no. I focus in on it and learn something from it. What lesson am I getting from this? Because I realize that every experience in my life is what kind of prepared me for what I'm doing now. And I'm blessed. I feel very blessed to have learned so much because like my mom was a paralegal. So from her side, I learned very young. I used to help her type up a lot of her um agreements and documents and stuff. From there, for our business when we started, we literally was a two-woman crew, and I learned very quickly how to read our agreements. Some of our agreements never went to a lawyer. Like I was able to read it, understand it, send back and give updates, recommendation or edits, and they would accept them. And that's all because I learned that when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. But again, back then I never knew how that experience would impact me later in life. So everything that you learn, I don't care if it's small, I don't care how big it is, learn from your experiences, right? And remember that, it's not necessarily, even if it's a small thing, just the discipline, you may not apply it now, you may not apply it 10 years from now, but somewhere along the path in your life, it's something that is going to be important to you. In terms of starting up as an entrepreneur, it's not going to be an easy task, right? But to me, it has been worth it because you learn so much. The thing about having your own business is that you get to make mistakes, right? You're not working for someone where if you make a mistake, you get fired. You're able to learn mistakes. My thing is learn fast, learn quickly, and then pivot, right? With businesses, like you can't let it just, you're making mis no. And if you feel like, for instance, you don't have a lot of time to do stuff, you have to like prioritize yourself, what's important versus what's a priority. And know when to bring someone else on to help you, because you don't want to be trading time for dollars, meaning your time is worth a lot of money. If you're doing small things in your business, admin stuff that you could hire someone else to do that, because you're now trading your valuable time to do those tasks that someone else could be helping you with, and you could be working on your business. Another thing I've learned is know the difference between working in your business and on your business. Is very important, because working in your business is like, again, those little tasks that you could be hiring someone else to do. Working on your business is, how do I expand it? How do I, bring more products? How do I think about a strategy for it? That's working on your business. So it's very important to understand that. And when you have a small business, or you're just starting out with a startup, you can get quickly, bogged down into just working in the business, because you have to wear many hats. You have to get things done, but you realize that, if you don't grow the business and work on your strategy and understand your market and your customers, you'll never expand or grow your business. So that's kind of, my some of the things that I've learned along the way that are very important to me.
Incredible. I love that. I love those insights. They're so, so, so important. And I love that you're passionate about data and business process optimization. I think this is incredible. And I wanted to ask you, how do these elements contribute to your work?
They're very important because, when you're in a startup, you have to have documentation. You have to be able to do a lot with not a lot, with the least. So having having your business optimized, having your processes documented is what helps you to also bring someone else on that can help you, and you can pivot quickly. Not only that, documentation helps you to see where you can make changes, where you can streamline. And to me, that's very important, especially when you're in a startup, right? You have few hands, but you have to still get stuff done. And then for us, I think what was mind blowing to me is that we were dealing with customers like Shell, FedEx, Disney, McKesson, all these big customers, servicing them. And we had to be a big consulting firm, right? Because when you deal with these people, they're a customer dealing with, you know, the EYs of the world. They're a customer dealing with big companies like IBM, McKinsey. So when they come to you, you have to put on that type of show, that type of face for them, right? They can't know that you're 3 or 4 people, you know, in the back. So we had to learn to do that as well. And I'm blessed because a lot of those people also became our mentors when they realized like how small we were. They helped us a lot get through, bid on a bigger contract. So we were bidding on bigger contracts and able to win those contracts from the help of those people as well. So I'm very appreciative of that. But you know, having the business processes, being able to streamline is what helped us to have a remote business. For a very long time, we didn't have an office, but we had 5, 10 consultants globally, right? We had clients, Qatar Gas, we had like 3, 4 consultants working for them. But having those processes in place is what helped us to, you know, to be able to execute on what we were doing, help us to manage those consultants over there, manage the client projects over there. It's very, very important. And it does take time to build those things out. But if you make the time while you're doing it, it becomes easier. You don't want to have to go back after and try to think about every step of the way. You want to do that while you're building. Take a time and do it because it saves you a lot of time and energy, you know, in the long run, especially when your business gets bigger and you have to bring people on to help you.
Incredible. Amazing. And as someone who enjoys traveling globally, especially in the Caribbean, I wanted to ask you, how has exposure to different cultures influenced your approach to business and community building?
I think that's like the root of that comes from my background. So, you know, when I travel, like I don't I shouldn't use the word discriminate, but I don't say, well, I can't go here, I can't go there. I love to just go places, you understand? Like my sister and I just love to say, you know what, we're just gonna go travel here. My sister is even more of a traveler than I am, but we've been literally across the globe because of our business, right? A lot of the countries we've been to have been clients have brought us out, conferences have brought us out. And I've been blessed to be able to do so much of my travel when I was younger. Having just a diverse background. I love to try new things. I love to try new foods. You know, I'm not shy about that. I love to learn, you know, new languages. I love to be around different cultures. It's just, I guess, because of my background, I've never like shied away from that at all. And when I was younger, um, you know, I always tell people, like, your words have power and you don't realize how important that is. And I say that because I remember my sister and I being in Miami, and we saw a video with Danica Patrick in I think it was Monaco, driving this fast car. She was doing uh I think they were shooting her race in a car for a video. And I told my sister, I said, one day we're gonna drive that. We're gonna go to Monaco and we're gonna do that. And we did it, right? We went to a conference in France and we decided to go to Monte Carlo for the day. And we ended up missing a train to go back. So we had to end up getting a hotel in Monaco. And we did exactly that. We went down the exact same road that she was on. And I told my sister, I said, do you remember us being in Miami? And I was young, I was probably in my 20s, like early 20s. And I was saying one day we are going to do that. And here we are right now, right? So having, you know, saying things is very important. And, you know, travel to me expands your ability to just look at things differently in life. You know, you, instead of being judgmental, you understand people are different. We are all different, you understand? And when I meet people, I don't look at them for their skin color. Like, you know, you can't do it in the Caribbean. We don't have that in the Caribbean. At least for me growing up, I didn't have that. Like, I have too many people in my different cultures in my family, but I go to places and I love to meet different people. I love to learn from them. I love to understand them better. And it's never for me a color barrier. You understand? Like, my background is way too diverse from that. My grandmother, my father's side is Creole, she's French and African. My father's Chinese, and you know, just so much stuff mixed into that. My mom's side, you know, they're Dutch, they're Jewish, you know, and I can go on and on. So I have a lot of friends that are diverse, and traveling helps me to better um just to deal with them and understand their different mannerisms and everything. So definitely if you can get out and travel, like go and experience it. It definitely opens your mind and helps you. If you have a global business, it helps you in your global business as well. So, definitely travel if you can.
Incredible. I love everything you said. I couldn't agree more. I'm always sharing that with my friends, how traveling kind of like, I feel like it opens your mind so much
Yes,
because sometimes it's easy to get stuck in your bubble, right? And then you see other cultures, other language, the way they do things. And it's just like, it's not about like what is right or wrong or whatever. It's just like
exactly.
sometimes different and sometimes I feel like every time I travel, I get something new that I can carry with me and I get
Yes,
inspired in so many, many different ways. And I feel for the folks listening to us and for you as well, like being able to speak more than one language, in your case, a lot more. It's just incredible. It's super handy. You can like communicate so much easier. And I feel like learning a different language is just such a beautiful and nice way to get to know a lot more about the culture than traveling as well. I feel like
yes,
so much deeper. So it's just very inspiring. And also, you also mentioned about that how it also helps business. It also helps you as like a professional in your work setting. And sometimes I feel perhaps for the immigrants who are listening to us, we take it for granted. We forget about those
exactly.
things, right?
Yeah.
So, because perhaps we just focus on the things we need to improve, things that we are different or like whatever, but we forget about like the things we already have and we should use that. We should keep those in mind.
No, I agree. And I think for me, being so young coming to the US, um, I appreciate where I'm from even more. We're home and we're on the beaches all the time. We eat certain foods and things, and it's like it's so normalized just because we're in it. That when you come up here and you've been up here for a long time, you're like, man, like I grew up, I feel like I grew up really rich. Like I had beach life. I go to the beach anytime I want. Now I have to plan a vacation to go to the beach, right? So we take those things for granted. And I always tell people like appreciate those little things because those little things matter to you, especially when you get older and you think back on your childhood and stuff like all the things that you didn't understand, didn't value back then, you start to really value it now. And I certainly do.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were talking, I was thinking about the fruits and vegetables. Oh my God, I miss papaya so
Oh,
much.
yes.
Banana
Yes.
that actually tastes good, not
Real.
like
Yes.
whatever the taste
Yes. Like
we
we
have
have the
in
Chiquito
here.
ones. We have, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
different kinds of banana. I was like, which
Yes.
banana?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I miss that so much.
Yes. Me too. Me too. I definitely miss it. Yes. Yes.
That's so awesome. And I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about the Analytics on Fire podcast. Can you share more about the podcast?
Oh my gosh. The podcast has been a journey for us. We started a podcast. This year is actually making 10 years of Analytics on Fire. Yes. And we're on our eighth
Incredible.
season. So we kind of started and stopped it. We stopped it for a while, came back to it because, life was life and business got busy. But it has been a journey for us because it has literally opened us and the opportunities. We thought we were global when we were here traveling to different countries. And Little on Fire, we have people all over the world. Timbuktu, Madagascar. Like, you see those things and you think it's just like a movie. No, those things exist. Like we've seen people all over the world listening to our podcast, and it just blows our mind because I would never in a million years think, wow, these people are going to tune in, but they do. They've found us. And we're very niche because we focus on analytics, but we have met people from all walks of life listening to it because the leaders and the people that we interview, again, right, they inspire people in different ways, even if they're not in tech. We have people from different backgrounds, we have immigrants, so they inspire people in different ways. So I've been encouraging people, like if you have a voice and you feel you have something to share, I'm not saying that it's gonna be easy, and it definitely there is a build-up and you know, but go ahead for it. Like the podcast is definitely very inspiring. Like even to me, like I listen to the people that we interview, and because I do a lot of the production, I get to like slow down and really listen and take my time. And it's just so interesting how people's lives and the things that they go through and what, brings them to a certain point in their life. So the podcast has been very interesting for us. It's also been lucrative. A lot of our opportunities have came from the podcast. My sister has keynoted around the world because of that podcast. We've had customer trainings because of that podcast. We've done a lot because of the podcast. So I'm definitely excited, always excited about it. And one of the unique things about our podcast in the beginning, a lot of people don't notice, but we only had customers and clients on there, right? So a lot of the people that in the first few seasons, they were clients. They were people that we worked with, worked for, that we brought on to the podcast. And over the years, we've kind of diversified and brought on like influencers and stuff in the data space. But in the beginning, it was only our students and only, our clients. And if you go on and you listen to some of like our students and stuff, our passion, one of our passions have always been to train people, and get, help them with the careers and stuff. And we mentor a lot of people on the side that we don't even like really speak about, but you listen to them talk about how the trainings and stuff that have helped their careers. And that's inspiring because they take the trainings and what they've learned and use something completely different with it that you don't even think about when you're creating this training or thinking about when you're creating this class, and you're inspired by what they've done for themselves with it. So, it is very focused on like tech and data, but there's a lot of inspiring stories that come out of it that, definitely helps to influence me as well, and make me change the way I think about things. So I definitely love the podcast, and I definitely feel blessed to be able to be a part of it.
Incredible. We are going to link to the description of this episode, the podcast, so you all can listen as well. I listened to some episodes and yeah, that's incredible. And I love the analytics topic in general. I think it's just such an important topic that I don't know, sometimes people, I don't know, they don't think much, or it's like a skill that, I don't know, some people might think, oh, this is not for me, but it's just such an important skill, such an important thing everyone should dedicate time with and feel more comfortable with numbers, like reporting and
Data,
analyzing data. I think especially in women, I feel it's just such an important skill to have.
I think it helps in every aspect of your life because you think about it, analyzing is thinking, right? Thinking about things more deeply and thinking through things. And nowadays, almost every company, everything you do includes some type of data, whether you know it, whether you acknowledge it or you're aware of it or not. So to me, data is very important. And it's another reason why for me, I'm very passionate about like getting children in STEM early. Because of that, because I feel that our children, they're so smart and they deal with data every single day and they don't realize it. But I think that data helps to expand their minds. Like it helps to put them in, give them opportunity. And that's one of the things that I'm passionate about, even for like the Caribbean, and carrying that back to the Caribbean and even Latin America, is having our children get into more STEM, get into more STEAM, right? Getting them, get their minds open from young, because, again, I'll say it, like we come from people who work very, very hard. Immigrants work hard, right? Because we understand the value of opportunity. So I want to get them in early so that they understand from young, like you can do anything you put your mind to. You understand me? And I think for us, being from, smaller island countries or from the islands, like that's something that we need to push in our education, getting children into STEM, because it even more now than back then, it's going to impact them, and they need to have an understanding of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we need to push for education. And I feel like this is like a beautiful way to help us to high paying jobs, to be honest, that sometimes a lot of folks from Latin America and the Caribbean, we don't have access to. And it's not like we don't work hard. It's just we don't have access to those high paying jobs, right? Yeah.
It's interesting because a few years ago, I did a presentation. So like I told you, I've never done any live interviews or any interviews, but I'll present to children. Like I will do the presentation for them. And there was a school in Jamaica that I presented to for this organization called Caribbean Girls Hack. And they focus on, Latin American and Caribbean, getting girls interested in STEM. And it's interesting because in the Caribbean, it's such a push to do computer science that they didn't know that careers in data existed. You understand? Like they didn't know you could become a data analyst, a data scientist, and you don't have to do how many more years of computer science to do it or do all this math, but you just have to be able to understand data and be able to analyze it. So for me, evangelizing that to them really touched me because they were really surprised that you could do something that's other than computer science. And I say that for all the immigrants listening out there, like computer science does not have to be your go-to. Learn more about data. Google has a lot of free classes. There's so many free information. YouTube has a lot of free information on there. Go and understand what, data is and see if it's something that you might be interested in, because I did my sister did computer engineering. She was a data scientist and she got into data. And hasn't looked back at being a computer engineer since she graduated because she felt data was a little bit more pliable for her and she's enjoyed it. You understand me? So, as immigrants in the Caribbean, like if you talk about computers, it's always about computer science. No, we can do something else other than computer science. We can do data, we can get into STEM stuff. There's AI, there's robotics, there's just so many other things that we can do that has nothing to do with computer science. So I think that's important to know.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And talking about resources, which resource that helped you in your journey that you want to share with us today?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to like pinpoint one because I love to read. I'm always reading tech magazines, blogs, for marketing, data. Um, I'm thinking of one, and I tried to think about this before I came online because I was like, what is like one resource that I can say? But it's so hard because I learned so much, even from like YouTube and stuff. Like I go and I search, trying to understand, even when I was doing like marketing at first. Again, I don't have a marketing background, so I had to learn to do marketing on my own, learn to understand the metrics and the KPIs that I should be looking for and how to analyze them and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. I don't know if there's like one particular thing that I can like pinpoint because I've just read so much over the years, so much books, and I don't just read data books or just marketing books. I love to read books. I love history. I'm a history buff as well too. I just read a lot because I love to learn things. I love to teach myself new things. So coming into being an entrepreneur, um, I had to end up reading a lot of books about entrepreneurship and how to plan my day. And I think, one book that I will say that did help me is like the 4-day work week. Like it helped me to just, yeah,
Mhm.
that's one book I would pinpoint because it helped me to like better organize the way I do things and the way I think about things and the way I plan things, right? Because, as an entrepreneur, you could never plan enough, meaning there's always going to be something happening that is going to throw off your plan, your task list. There's always another priority or something that's important. And, with having multiple clients globally, you have to set your mind up that, I might have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for a call. I might have to get up, stay up very late to deal with my team over in another country, especially if you have a deliverable. So all those things kind of help me be able to plan better. And that book was very instrumental in helping me to understand just that, organizing and tasks and stuff and how to organize myself. But it's very important, running a company, managing employees, just dealing with all of that aspects of running a business on a whole. But that book, I'll pinpoint that book and say that helped me a lot. That's been a very good book for me.
Awesome. It's a great reminder for me because I bought this book a long time ago. I didn't read it yet. So I will prioritize that now. And as you were talking, I love that you love to read, and I get a lot of value from like reading as well. And I feel it's just such a way to kind of like expedite your learning so fast. And I have been thinking about that because that libraries in US are amazing. So for folks who are listening to us, go to your library. If you don't have a card,
Yes.
get your card. They're awesome. They have apps so you can have audiobooks, get Kindle books, physical books. Do that, prioritize that, because I think for me, it took me a while to learn about that. So I was spending a lot of money buying books, and you can get them
Yes.
for free at your library,
Yes.
and they are awesome. So do that.
Yes, I agree. No, definitely. I love to read. I love to, and now I do a lot of audible stuff because I mean I have a lot of time, but I still like to listen to stuff. And I listen to a lot of podcasts too. Listen to podcasts have helped me tremendously over the last 2 years as I got into them more. I love listening to inspiring podcasts. Like when I met you, I started listening to your podcast, and I was like, wow, like listening to, people of our background, and likewise doing things that you don't necessarily hear about. And it's like, wow, like, I'm very proud to be from the Caribbean, very proud to have that background. So listening to all the folks on your podcast, like, it's definitely something for people who are immigrants to listen to, because like, again, coming from a small island, and not even in my mind at that point, and it's not for the lack of imagination or the lack of um being inspired, is just for the lack of exposure. A lot of the times for us, it's just a lack of exposure, and we just need a little bit more exposure. And, people say, oh, social media is bad. Social media, it has its good and its bad. Anything with technology has its good and bad. But the one thing it has done for us, I think, as immigrants, is open our minds to what is possible out there. We were able to see what people are doing and what they're experiencing. So definitely, listen to podcasts, read books, go on YouTube. You can learn a lot.
Incredible. I love that. I'm loving this conversation, but we are getting to the end. I want to thank you so much for your time. I love everything you said. I can't wait to see you in more podcasts and like video casts. So I'll be checking that. And I want to leave the last minutes for you to share anything you want to share, and also where people can find you.
I'm all over the internet. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Like, just do at Soo Tang Yuk, SooTangyuk, and you will find me. In terms of like last words, I will say this. Like, one thing I had was my mom. My mom pushed me forward in life, right? And I know not all of us might have that, but just know that as folks, we're a lot stronger than we think we are. Not until you get pushed into a situation you realize how strong you are, but don't give up on yourself. Get up every day and push yourself forward, because no one is going to come and wake you up from bed. No one is going to come and tell you to do it. But you have to do it for yourself, right? And never stop learning. Don't ever think that you know everything, because you never know everything. I learn things every single day, and I'm always amazed about the things that I learn. Keep your mind open, to those things. Keep your mind open to other cultures, other people. You're right. Like you said, there's no right or wrong. There's just people different, right? We're all different. But we also have a lot of parallel things that we don't know, because we don't really, we don't look at other cultures like that, but we do have a lot of parallels. So definitely keep an open mind, and keep dreaming. Keep dreaming big. Don't ever put a cap on your dreams. And that's where I'll end with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.